Hey Scorpio, this is Leah with Half Moon Tarot. I will be doing your reading for February 2024. I've already meditated over the cards and asked that Spirit bring whatever is necessary for you to hear, for you to know, expect, and be prepared for. Okay, so coming into February 2024, it looks like, first of all, we're coming in with the Nine of Swords, the Nine of Wands, and the Five of Swords. So for some of my Scorpios, it looks like we're coming in with, you could be coming in with racing thoughts. You might not be able to sleep. You have so many ideas coming through that need action. Or you might be taking a lot of action. You might be spread thin right now. Okay. So traditionally what the nines mean is the nines are completion, right? And it looks like if there's things that you want to move forward with, especially if they're your passion, especially if it's something that you desire and you are just geeked up about and you just love it, you want to dive into it deeper. The nines indicate that it is a completion to stop thinking about it and actually do it. Right, the Nine of Wands indicates that it's a completion of planting the seeds, but you've already planted the seeds. Now it's time to start watering it. Now it's time to start feeding those passions and the pathways that you want to go down. The Five of Swords to me indicates within this entire reading a state of patience and a state of research. Okay. So when we actually stop doing things like overthinking or starting projects and not ending them, we then take on this space and this attitude, this mindset of patience, right? So when you plant flowers, when you plant seeds, you water it and you walk away. Right? And you allow it to do its thing, you allow it to grow. And the more you do that, Scorpio, the more you're going to have this fruitful life. Right? We can't start a project and stop it because you don't see the fruitfulness within a week, right? We can't start a project and stop it because you don't see any growth in it within 24 hours, right? It is something that we have to be patient with. We have to keep feeding it, right? We have to keep watering these ideas and these passions and things of that nature in order for it to actually grow. So you got to feed it and you got to be patient with it, right? The research part comes in when it's like, when it is your passion, when it is something that you love and you can't get enough of, you have to know your product. You have to know what it is. You have to know the ins and outs of it. So while you are waiting for that growth and you're feeding into that passion and that desire, you have to be researching it as well. You got to know about it, right? So be patient and also be researchful. I know that's not a word, but it's going to be a word today. Okay. Then we get to the King of Swords, and the King of Swords talks about once we start to make the journey into feeding and being patient, we often learn more about ourselves. Right. And I think that with this, Scorpio, you're going to take a deeper dive within self. Right. And then you'll start to notice the thoughts about yourself, the words that we say to ourselves. And then you realize that this is the reason that I have been held back. Right? I have been holding my own self back. It is no one else's fault but my own. I have been holding myself back from the words that I speak to myself, the thoughts that I have about my capabilities and my worthiness of completing these things. So that's why the nines come through. It's like, it's time to stop that. It's time to stop talking about it. It's actually time to start doing it. And I know some of my Scorpios like, I am doing it, but you're not giving it time to grow. Okay, so the King of Swords says, watch the words that you speak to yourself. Watch the thoughts that you have about yourself. And when you notice these things, now it's time to make a shift, right? It's time to shift into this person that is, I would say, a scholar of yourself, right? So it's time to shift into the person that knows themselves, that has a relationship with self that is beyond the negative thought patterns, the negative words that we speak to ourselves. It's beyond that, right? Because honestly, there are some times where you're just going to be like, man, I know I can't do that, right? But to get past that and to get over that, it's like, but let me try and actually do it, right? So the King of Swords comes in and says there will be a separation of self. There will be a separation of the thoughts, of the negative thought patterns, the negative words that we say to ourselves, and the person that actually steps forward and does it anyway, even if they're scared, even if they're fearful, they do it anyway. That's why it sits in between the Nine of Swords and the Nine of Wands, because I'm going to stop talking bad to myself. I'm going to stop starting and stopping, and I'm actually going to put the work in. And that has an internal reflection, Scorpio. Okay. That leads me into the Two of Wands. Now, the Two of Wands says, now there's a choice to make, right? Move forward with your passion, knowing what you know now. Now that you've fed it, now that you've done it, now that you've put the work in and you've been patient and allowed that passion to grow, you can either continue on this path of releasing control, releasing the thought patterns and all of that, or you can stay still right where you are. Because there's always a choice. There's never not a choice for you, Scorpio. Okay. So hopefully you take the choice, the pathway of choice that you don't travel much on. Hopefully you go towards the pathway of continuing this growth, continuing infusing yourself into the passion and allowing the passion to infuse itself into you, right? And what I mean by that is allowing yourself to grow beyond measure. Because while the passion is growing and you're being patient and you're researching about it, you're going to grow too. Right. And if it's not a growth that you like, you definitely have the choice to back away from it and do something else. But you have to allow it to grow. Okay. The last card that comes out is the Two of Swords. The Two of Swords also is about choice. The twos are always about choice, right? And it's like, oh, I can go down this pathway of overthinking. I can go down this pathway of starting and stopping. Is it going to not be stressful? Is it not a stressful time to be patient and relinquish control and allow things to grow? Absolutely. Absolutely, it is nerve wracking. Absolutely, we become impatient. But that is where you have to be a little bit more mindful with yourself, right? Give yourself a little bit more grace. Because the Two of Swords not only talks about like these thoughts that we're having back and forth about decision making and is this going to be good enough, am I going to be good enough, all of these things. But it also talks about being blind to the fact that whatever it is already yours. You just have to grow with it. Okay. No one is expecting you to be an expert right off the bat. No one is expecting you to know everything that there is to know about this passion, because quite literally the passion is growing and you're growing with it. Right. And eventually you will become an expert in whatever it is that you choose to do. But overall, Scorpio, this is a time for you to start to grow the seeds that you've already planted, especially the seeds that you've planted in January, right? It is a time for you to start feeding them. It is a time for you to be patient with them, especially if it's your passion and your desire for it to grow. And it is a time for you to start researching these things, right? And just know at any time, if it doesn't work for you, if it truly doesn't work for you, you have the option to move away from it into something that does. But we have to stop the pattern of starting and stopping because it we don't see the growth in it. Not because it doesn't work for us, but because we don't see the growth quickly enough. We don't see the money quickly enough. We don't see anything quickly enough, because you have to understand that it's coming from a mental standpoint, not from fact. Right? So you've planted the seeds already, Scorpio. It is really time for you to allow it to grow, allow it to do whatever it is that it's going to do. You just have to be there to grow with it. Okay. So, Scorpio, remember to love on yourself, give yourself grace, right? That has been your February 2024 reading. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.